Yo, what's up, guys? And this weekend, Kevin Feige did some crazy and huge interviews, and we learned a lot of juicy stuff and new details about the future of the MCU. So, we're gonna do an entire breakdown of everything that we learned and kind of theorize on what it could mean for the future. So, there's a lot of stuff. So, with that being said, let's get into it. So, first, Kevin Feige talked about Superman and the DCU, and he did say he went to go see Superman and he liked it, he enjoyed it, like I think a lot of us did, for the same reasons most of us did. All the comic booky stuff, how they just jumped right into it, which was some people's problems, but for the most part, I saw a lot of people liking that. That's what Kevin Feige said he also liked, so yeah, I think that was pretty good. The article, or this part of the article, did kind of take a turn because Marvel and DC kind of threw some shade at each other. So James Gunn actually has made it pretty clear that he doesn't want to start projects and like start filming and doing stuff with them until he feels like the script is done and is the best it can be. And he kind of has been throwing shade at Marvel, saying that that's what they do and that's why the MCU's at a bit of a weird and low point right now.
Welcome to the MCU, by the way. You're joining at a bit of a low point.
But Kevin Feige basically debunked this, and he was like, he never had a project where he was satisfied on. Not saying that they're not good, but he always wants them to be better. And they're not content with anything, is what Kevin Feige was saying. He also said that that's not true, and that they don't begin working on movies that they don't have finished scripts for. And Kevin Feige kind of got caught up in a lie here, because later in one of the other parts of the articles, we found out that Doomsday is filming right now, and there's not a final clear cut of the movie. I don't think the third act is finished, they said a few weeks ago. And we learned in this article that Michael Waldron, the writer for Loki and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, is currently writing some scenes for Doomsday. So that's kind of not true, but I think we all got the point of what Kevin Feige said for the most part. Okay, for the next part, we're going to talk about Fantastic Four. I see Fantastic Four tomorrow, so let's get all this stuff out the way. A lot of people have already seen it, but yeah, let's talk about it. So we first learned that the cast for the Fantastic Four are around 50% done with their filming for Doomsday, so that's pretty good to know. We also learned a few weeks ago, not really in this article, but the Fantastic Four post-credit scenes, it has two, and I don't know if both of them, but at least one of them were filmed by the Russo brothers, so that obviously means it's going to tie into Doomsday heavily. The Thunderbolts post-credit scene was filmed by the Russo brothers, and so is the Fantastic Four First Steps post-credit scene, so we can imagine how big that's going to be. We also learned that the Russo brothers would often visit the set for Fantastic Four First Steps because they wanted to make sure that they were doing the characters right and serving them justice, and it didn't feel different between the two movies, which I think is a great idea. I don't think that's really a big problem with the MCU, surprisingly, but we know that James Gunn kind of did say that he didn't like how the Guardians were handled at some points in the Avengers movies, but I think that's just a good idea. I'm not really completely surprised, but it's good to know, Next, we have a possible spoiler. So skip this part, just probably fast forward a couple seconds. But we kind of learned that the Fantastic Four's universe is going to survive. The Avengers have been on the Fantastic Four's Baxter Building set, which confirms that their universe is still there. So Galactus will not destroy the universe, we know. They kind of spoiled that, and I'm not sure why, especially with how close we are to actually getting the movies released. It just kind of felt odd to me, but, whatever. Kevin Feige also talked about a possible team-up in these next two Avengers movies with Human Torch and Spider-Man, and those are some of my two favorite characters in all of Marvel, so man, please come true. That would be awesome to see. Okay, speaking about Spider-Man, let's talk about his part of this video, which we got a lot of updates on. So first, we got 100% confirmation out of Kevin Feige's mouth that Punisher, Jon Bernthal's Punisher, will be in Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is very good to know. There's no word officially on Hulk, but it's heavily rumored, and I'd honestly be surprised if he's not in it. But Kevin Feige didn't mention it, so it's still not 1,000%, but I'd say like 99%. The movie's also confirmed to be grounded and street level, which thank God, because oh my God, I don't know what I would have done if it wasn't. And Kevin Feige also said he wants to finally do Spider-Man properly and do him justice, which sounds good. Tom Holland is my favorite Spider-Man, but I can agree that he's not perfect, but I don't think any of them are. But I'm super happy and super excited for the potential that he has going forward. We also have some could be disappointing news, but could not be. I'm kind of neutral on it. No Miles Morales in this next movie. Kevin Feige said that they were told to stay away from it by Sony, so they just have to kind of respect that. I think we probably will get live action Miles Morales probably within the next 5 years, probably after Secret Wars and after Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out. Once they finish up that trilogy, I'm hoping that maybe Disney will buy Spider-Man, hopefully. But that's a whole different conversation for a different video. Okay, next we got Blade news. Blade is still moving forward at Marvel Studios, and we learned that they had 4 different versions of the script. 2 of them, I think, were set in the past and were going to be period pieces, and the other 2 were modern day stories. And the one that they're settled on right now and they're going to continue going forward with is a modern day version, which I'm honestly kind of excited for. I don't really care. I'd be excited for both, but I think modern day, where we maybe get to see some cameos from other MCU characters, would fit better, because MCU has been very split up and in different spots recently. I think some connectivity could help. Maybe like some Midnight Sun cameos in it would be pretty nice, but who knows. Okay, next up, we got a Young Avengers tease. This could be a tease, or it could be like maybe saying that we're getting away from the Young Avengers and they're not going to do that. But they asked about it, and he said potentially. I think if it was a no, he would have just been like, there's not really plans for it right now. But he just said potentially. I think that's leaning towards the yes side. Speaking of the Young Avengers, Ironheart, we never talked about the show, but Mephisto was in the ending, and I think Mephisto will probably be the villain of a Young Avengers project. I think it will probably tie into that a little bit with Wanda's kids and Ironheart. And Kevin Feige did actually say they have plans for him going forward, which is good to know. It's not going to be just another loose end that we've seen before. And we'll talk back about some loose ends that we've seen before, because Kevin Feige did talk about that. Before we get into that, we have to talk about the biggest thing that came out of this article, which is Kevin Feige confirmed that the MCU is going to reboot or reset. He kind of said it's not a reboot and it is just a reset, but I don't really know the difference, and I think that we could probably talk for a long time about this, so we're going to keep it short. The biggest question is who stays, who goes. And like I said, this is a long conversation. The people I need to stay are Tom Holland Spider-Man, and then I want people like Charlie Cox Daredevil, a lot of the younger and newer people, the Fantastic Four actors, I want them to all stay. Especially if the movie is good, then I want all of them to stay because they haven't really gotten time. The older people, I think if they want to leave, they should probably leave. Kevin Feige also basically confirmed that they will recast Captain America and Iron Man with different actors, which I think is weird, but it's not really surprising. I mean, it's weird for the Anthony Mackie Captain America because I don't know how he feels about that. I feel like if he wants to stay, then he should be able to stay. Because, to be fair, I don't think the problem is Sam Wilson. I think the problem is it's not Chris Evans, Steve Rogers. I think that's the problem there is. I think even if it just was a recast, I still think we'd feel distant from him. But who knows? He did talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. He teased that they've had talks about their return. And I honestly think that he's bluffing here. I think their return is going to be sooner than he's making it out to be. I think he probably is. I think both of them will probably return in the next 2 Avengers movies. Speaking about the loose ends, though, Kevin Feige basically confirms that some of them are going to get brought back up and get closure. Some of them won't, and then some of them is probably going to take a while, kind of like the leader appearance in The Incredible Hulk, and then him returning almost 20 years later in Captain America Brave New World. Feige also teased that characters like Moon Knight and the Eternals could possibly appear again, and there's plans for them to appear because that's why they were introduced. But I'm not really sure if he's telling the truth here, or if he is telling the truth, is it going to be this saga? I don't know when, but in my mind, I think everybody's in Secret Wars still. Even the Eternals, which I think if we're like talking about like the Guardians, Moon Knight, Eternals, She-Hulk, all these characters that like we don't know if they'll return, I think if we're ranking them, the Eternals are definitely the lowest, that have the lowest chance of returning. I still think that they'd appear in Secret Wars though, because at least if it's anything like the comics, and like everybody kind of has to be involved. It's a whole universal thing. The whole planet should be there. Any hero should be there. So that's if they do it like the comics. But I could also see them doing what they did with Endgame and working around it, where you just have a contained group, and that contained group will probably be the main Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the main X-Men, and then some multiversal cameos like the Spider-Man or Deadpool, Wolverine. Just, you know what I mean? All the most popular characters that everybody grew up on and loves. But I still think the Eternals and Moon Knight and everybody, like the Guardians, should still probably have at least a cameo role. And I think they probably will. Okay, next and finally, let's talk about the X-Men. The X-Men's reboot finally has its director, which is Jake Schreider. He directed the Thunderbolts movie, which I'm not really sure how I feel about. Thunderbolts is a great movie. I don't know if just because he made this movie, if that's why they picked him. I'm not too familiar with his work, so I can't really judge him yet. But I don't know. They also said that the new cast is going to be younger and more kind of comic booky, younger and more bright and like all that stuff. Just sounds like what we want to hear. A kind of confusing thing was younger. I don't know if he means younger than the OG people that are coming back in Doomsday and Secret Wars, or younger like they're going to be Young Avengers age. I'm hoping that they're just like mid-20s to 30s, aside from some characters that need to be young, obviously. But I think that's what he meant. But I think it would be kind of weird doing all of them as like teenagers. But I think just in their prime, like the Avengers were at the beginning, because they're probably going to be the faces of this universe moving forward. So, yeah, that's basically all that we got from it. That's a lot of big news. There's a lot to talk about here. We're going to end the video, though, because this is all stuff I want to talk about later. I don't want to waste it all on this one video. I want to split it up in different videos and talk more thoroughly and in depth about these things in videos that are just for them. So, yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and peace out.